Hello, hello. Hey, CR, can you hear me? Oh, YouTube just told me I'm live. The early bird gets the worm. That's right. And coffee does help, doesn't it? Yeah, I have some right here. Good morning. Good morning. Can you hear me? CR? I wish this light wasn't like right there. I think it's the reflection from the laptop. Okay, good. Thank you. Now we're just waiting for Howie. So, how are your plants doing, CR? Oh, well, is that bad or is that good? That's good. Oh, that's good. They're growing in green. That's awesome. Well, everything's green in my garden as long as I water it. Yeah, me too. What time is it where you are, CR? Oh, okay. So it's 5:30 a.m. there. Did somebody join? It shows me it only shows me one person, so I guess that was you. Oh, huh. Yes, it's still holding up. Yep, I had to do that to another one too. But yeah, it's still holding up. Yeah, you would like to know, right? That's good. You know, the board that's the worst problem on that bed, it still has, rot kind of at the bottom, but I'm sure it'll make it through at least this year, and it might even make it through another year, I don't know. Have to wait and see, because the winter, all the snow and freezing and everything, that really, makes a big difference. Yep, yep. I don't know where Howie is. I sent him, a link, and, so I guess I'm just waiting. So CR, do you live in an apartment or do you have a house with a backyard where you can garden? Where you garden? Yes, I'm still thinning those fruit trees. I need to I need to do more of it. Okay, that's good though. At least it's something, right? You know, the bigger the area, the more work it is, that's for sure. The bigger the area, the more weeds, the more everything that you have to take care of. I'm kind of trying to see how much I can actually grow in containers. The rain is helping, the water. Yeah, definitely. So right now I'm growing potatoes in containers. Yeah, I'm growing potatoes and I'm going to get the squash put in there and I'm gonna do okra and I have lettuce in a container and I have some peas. I'm gonna do a video on that and I'm just trying to see um, how much I can grow in containers. Mostly, I got the container thing because I mean I used to grow in containers a lot, and then all I could think about was, oh my gosh, I need to get a bigger place so I can actually grow in the ground. That's going to be so much better, and you know it is to a certain extent, but then you know, you get a lot of weeds and then you get gophers. Oh my goodness. The gophers are just terrible. But anyway, there's a whole lot of stuff you can grow in containers, a whole lot. Yes, exactly. You have to water them. You have to water them. So I guess raised beds are sort of like a giant container, except they don't have a bottom. Mine don't have a bottom, you know, the raised beds are just in contact with the soil. Um, so yeah, exactly. Exactly, especially when it gets hot. When it gets hot, I do have to, water every single day, sometimes twice a day, in the morning and then in the evening. Sometimes I can get away with it if I water in the evening, just before the sun goes down, that'll last all night. Sometimes it'll last all night and then all the next day, but but, seems like, sometimes I have to water twice. That'll be probably July and August for me. Yeah, mulch does help. Mulch does help. What do you use for mulch, CR? Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. And those were in containers? Yeah, so those tomatoes were in containers? Oh, wow. Well, that's great. That's great. That's great. Yeah. I mostly use I mostly use, leaves. Hey, Star, CR is here. We're just waiting for Howie. I'm sure he'll be here. How are you doing, Star? Are you melting? I know it's hot there. Are you melting? Well, that's good to hear. I'm glad you're doing well. It is hot there. Are they still predicting rains after Sunday? Monsoon? Oh my gosh, I forgot about that. That is the craziest thing ever. They're conserving electricity so that you guys get to be hot. What is that? Thanks, Doc. No, no rains in Idaho. Oh, it's an emoji. I can't see it on this chat. It just says colon, thanks, Doc, colon. Oh, that's nice. Thank you. Do you have a nice tall glass of icy water, Star? I have some warm coffee. Actually, it's tea. I got some moringa tea. Okay, see you in a minute, Star. I don't know. I don't know. I wonder how high the water table is. If the water table is high, then there can't be very much water uh, to soak in before it just starts running off. Or how deep the soil is before you hit rock. Yeah. Yeah, it does. It helps to hold the water. Yeah. More clay here with some silt. Yes. Yep. I have a lot of clay soil here. A lot. And clay is not all bad because it has a lot of minerals in it. Yeah, autocorrect is crazy, isn't it? It always does a number. So clay is not all bad because it has a lot of minerals in it. But it's difficult. If it ever gets really dry, it's difficult to get it to get wet because it's so compact. But the organic matter makes a huge difference. Now it shows 3 people. Definitely less air, and the water can't go through it as quickly as sand, which, is good and bad. I know one thing, if you have clay soil, don't add sand because then you'll just have bricks. But there are people who say, "Oh, well, you must need to add sand." No, make sure you add organic matter. All the earthworms and everything will mix the organic matter with the clay, and it takes a while. Could even take years to make good soil, but the organic matter is what you have to have. Yeah, yeah. Do you add peat moss or leaves or um like right, exactly, organic matter. I understood. I understood what you meant, CR. Chop and drop. Yeah, that's a good thing. That's a good thing. I do a lot of chop and drop. The only thing I don't drop is the noxious weeds like Canada thistle and field bindweed. Those things, if you chop and drop those, they're just gonna grow again. Excuse me. Oh, punk wood? Is that like rotted wood? It does. Yeah, it does. It does. Yeah, I don't know. I told him I would send him the link. He's in the Pacific time zone. So, you know what? Maybe I mistook the time zone. If it's 6:30 there, it's 7:30 here. Oh my gosh, that's it. That's it. He said 6:30 his time zone, and so I'm like, "Oh, that must be 5:30 my time." I was completely wrong. Oh my goodness. This is all this is all a big mistake by me. I should reschedule. I should just try to change the I wonder if I can change the time and come back in a like an hour. I think what I should do is I think I should end the broadcast and try to make it well, if I do that though, I'll have to send Howie a different link, but I could do that. Well, or yeah, I could keep going. I could keep going. That's a whole hour and a half from now. There you go. You want to come up and be on the live? Let's see if I can figure out how to do this. See if that works. I don't know, Star. You know what? It's my fault. It's my fault. He said 6:30 his time. And for some reason, I thought to myself, oh, if he's 6:30, then it must be 5:30 my time. Instead, it's 7:30 my time because I'm an hour later, not earlier. So I'm so used to watching people on the East Coast, and so it's earlier for me as it's later for them, but it's the opposite. Oh, wait. So so Howie probably isn't even expecting to um, be here for another hour and a half. Yeah, it's my fault. It's my fault. I wasn't thinking. Okay, CR. There's
Blue
CR.
Idaho girl. Whew, all the typing wore me out. No. Hey, Star. How are you doing? Hmm. See a bird.
CR, if you, or I mean, Star, if you want to come up and join the conversation, you can do that.
Yeah, we'll read the warm up act for Howie, right?
Well, I feel really foolish, but
Show must go on, right? Show must go on.
yeah.
Show must go on.
Are you outside, CR?
Yes, it's
Oh, I hear the
it's a
bird.
nice. I know it's a nice sunny morning. I'm lucky I'm going to see some sun at least a little bit today before it rains later again. Yep, nice blue skies. No smoke or haze in the sky right now.
Oh, that's
Like,
good.
yeah, the rains have been helping. Well, you asked me earlier, are the rains gonna help? Well, they did for that at least.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's good. Oh,
Yeah.
Star, no Wi-Fi.
Uh, okay, Star. I guess you'll just have to
And no
listen to us.
cooler. Oh, I understand. Yeah, you have no, I understand.
Oh yeah, priorities. Yeah.
Oh, my goodness. I have been working out in the garden every day for I don't know how many weeks now, and it's starting
6
to something like that.
6 weeks. I'm assuming. That's how long I've been going for.
Yeah, and it's starting to get intense because, at some point, if I don't get those plants in the ground, they won't make a crop. So, you know,
Yeah. Well, most of the plants tend to do better actually in the ground. They have more room to spread out. They're not root
right,
bound. Yeah.
right. But, when the information on the seed packets will say, so and so many days.
Hmm.
And what that means is so and so many days after you put it in the ground. Um,
Hmm.
so, yeah. Well,
Well,
hopefully the weather will
yeah.
get better for you, Star. And, you know, obviously you'll get some electricity. That'll make a difference for sure. Kind of difficult to run a cooler without electricity.
Hmm. Hmm.
How hot is it going to be there today, Star? I could look on my phone.
I think. Well, I know he posted something earlier in the week. He's probably gonna see like high 90s, I guess, right? Mid 90s, high 90s, probably.
Maybe.
Probably what's it? 33, 36 Celsius. I'm assuming something like that.
Oh my goodness, it's going to be a high of 38 Celsius there today. Wow.
Remember, that's like 99 Fahrenheit or something, or like pretty
Yeah.
high.
And then tomorrow it's going to go down a little bit, 36, 34.
That's
Anyway,
still in the 90s. That's
yeah,
still in the 90s, by the way. That's
yeah,
still in the 90s.
I
So
know it is.
I've seen, yeah, Star and Idaho Garden Girl. I've seen that temperature here before, once
Oh, wow.
back in 2021 during this heat dome that we had in Canada.
Yeah,
It was like that almost for like 2 weeks, give or take. I mean,
wow, wow.
so yeah, that's what I was saying about the mulch. That's
Yeah,
where I got convinced. That's where I got convinced by it.
yeah,
'Cause I'm pretty sure my tomatoes would have been much different if I didn't mulch. I mean, yeah, the water helps. Don't get me wrong, but because during the afternoon the mulch was still keeping the soil cool, so like I
right,
could put my finger in there and it was still moisture. The
right,
ground didn't just dry out.
right.
Because I'm
Yeah,
assuming at 38 Celsius, 90 plus Fahrenheit, right? It's that rate of evaporation is even faster.
yeah.
So
And if it's not humid, if it's dry, you know,
yeah, it was yeah. This area doesn't get humid much. I mean,
no,
it can. Don't get me wrong, but it
right.
was like so hot. I'm just like you could put a towel outside that's wet. It's like dry in like 20 minutes.
Yeah,
That's how hot it was.
yeah, yeah. I know, like yesterday, or the day before, rather. Was it the day before? I guess it was the day before. We had hot temperatures and dry wind. And oh my gosh, my pepper plants just, they really struggled because I've just barely put them out there. So they haven't really, they haven't really gotten their root system down into the soil. They're just still like trapped
Trying to harden off.
in
Trying
that
to
little
harden off.
tiny,
Yeah,
yeah, in
yeah.
that little tiny um area that they were in the 4-inch pot. And so, oh my gosh, they were just, their leaves were all like this, and some of them lost leaves. And
Mm-hmm.
so, anyway, I just gave them a bunch of water. And of course, the nighttime temperatures get cool here. I'm sure they
Mm-hmm.
do where you are too, Star. I mean, CR. Uh,
Yeah, I mean,
it, it cools down at night, so that makes a huge difference.
yeah. Well, hopefully they'll pull through.
Yeah, well, my experience is some of them die, and there's nothing you can do about that, but the ones that make it through do well, and
Yeah.
I always try to have some extras, that I can, like, if the plant is definitely dead, I just pull it out and put something else, put another pepper plant in there, you know?
Oh yeah, but the pepper plants takes forever to germinate.
Yeah, they do.
It takes
That's why I try to have extras.
yeah.
Yeah, they do take a long time. They're a lot more, particular than tomatoes, that's for sure.
Yeah, yeah, they take way longer. I thought tomatoes took a while and just like this pepper takes forever. Like in the same amount of time that it grew, like our plants, let's say tomatoes, sunflowers, just grow like a foot.
Right, right. I had some I had some pepper seeds that actually took, um, 30 days, and I had given up. I was like, "Well, that didn't germinate," and so I just took the pot and set it aside, and, uh, I just thought, "Well, that's a dud," you know,
Mhm.
and I took the whole tray outside and was hardening off all the other seedlings that were already like 4 or 5 inches tall. I was just hardening them off to the sun, and
Mhm.
next thing you know, I'm like, "What is that?"
Oh, look at that! There's a little bit
Yeah,
of green just sticking out.
little seeds sprouted up. Hi, Shadow Scout Swede, good to see you.
Hi, Shadow.
So I made a mistake, Shadow. I made a mistake. Howie said 6:30 in the morning Pacific time, and I'm so used to um, going with people who are on the East Coast who are later than me that I just said to myself, "Well, Howie's at 6:30. That must mean I'm at 5:30." Instead, Howie at 6:30 means I'm at 7:30. So I made a huge mistake. So he's not going to be coming
And
on
that's
for
why I'm
another
here. And
hour
that's
and
why I'm here.
15 minutes.
And that's why I'm here.
So
I'm the warm-up show.
his
I'm the warm-up act.
CR says he's the warm-up act.
Yeah, yeah, right. I'm just saying, I always know that it's more difficult to do streaming alone. So I'm just trying to give you some company while you're here.
Well, it's difficult because there's a lag for sure. There's a lag in the between the chat and the person,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
then
Usually it's about 30 seconds.
the person in the chat has to have time to actually type in, you know?
Yeah, and hopefully autocorrect doesn't like ruin it.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
yeah. I told Shadow that you were on live. So
Oh, you
he's
did?
gonna join. Yes, so he's joining us.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Well, because I was like, I saw the notification last night, right? I'm just like, wow, that's really early in the morning, even for Howie. I'm just like, I didn't really think that it was like, I know he goes live in the morning, but he's never gone that early.
Yeah, well, he told me 6:30, so, you know.
Yeah. Well, maybe Shadow will join us too. Right? We'll just like we'll warm everyone up to the gardening talk.
Yeah, you can come up, Shadow, if you want. There's a link. Oh, that's a good idea, Star. Listening and doing chores. I do that all the time. I actually really enjoy finding a live stream that is going to last for a long time, so that I don't have to stop what I'm doing and search for another one. But I enjoy listening to a live stream that goes on for a while. So does anybody know how I make people moderators? I don't know how to make a person a moderator. I don't see any,
You have to do it on the YouTube side.
oh,
You cannot do it on the StreamYard side.
oh, yes, Star, like a radio podcast. Yes, that you can just listen to. Yep,
Mhm.
because you're busy doing chores, so you can't really watch what's going on, so you're just listening. Yeah,
Yeah, that's why every so often I'll try to describe things too, because I know people are listening. Not everyone's always watching the screen, but people are listening. Let's say with headsets, Bluetooth headsets, speaker and all that stuff, right?
right,
So it's like the scripted video, you know.
right,
So at least people can picture it in their mind, even though they can't see it.
right. You had a really good video, CR, about recycling and reusing found items. That was really good.
Yes, I posted that yesterday. Well, it premiered yesterday anyway.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, that was really good. There's so
yeah.
many things that people throw away. I mean, I'm guilty of it, you
No,
know.
I think we're all guilty of it. I mean, like, really, realistically, even the people that are minimalists, right? There's still something. Maybe
Right,
it's a little, but it's still something. I
right.
mean, I've seen people for a while, like, actual good, like, gardening containers, right? I mean, some of them are like broken or whatever, but then everyone's are like, this is still good. It still holds soil, water, or whatever, right?
Oh, okay. Okay,
So,
Shadow. I see what I have to do that in YouTube. So let me see. Can I get on here?
yeah, if you're on a laptop or a computer, you should be able to. You know, the three dots on the side, add moderator, add as moderator. I still actually have to add a few people. On the side, add moderator, add as moderator. Oh,
Whoops. Now I've got an
I still
echo.
actually have to add a few people. On the side, add moderator,
Let's see. I can't see the three dots. Oh, there it is.
yeah, it should say add it. Give you the option, add as moderator.
Okay.
Yeah, what Shadow just wrote. I like how I just saw that in the comment. He actually wrote it. Yeah. Yeah. StreamYard doesn't give you that option. Probably for good reason.
Well, you guys can make sure that if there's some crazy person that
Act
comes in here.
some activity.
Yeah, thank you for telling me that, Shadow.
Well, this is your third stream, right? So, I mean,
It is. And actually yesterday was just like a pop-up live.
yeah, I noticed that. I'm like, what? She was on live? What? I missed the memo.
There was no memo. I was so upset because I went out there and there was no eggs, and the dummy eggs had been uh, kicked out of the nest and broken, which I could not believe. I mean,
Hmm.
those things are hard to break. I don't even know how they got broken.
Hmm.
Some people in the chat were saying that it was a skunk, and I was like, well, I don't think a skunk could do that, but I don't know what could. One person suggested that it might be my dog, but my dog wasn't out there. um, so it couldn't have been her. So
Oh
I
yeah,
don't.
I saw that video that you posted about
Yeah,
that.
yeah. So
It
I
was so
think
adorable.
probably a probably a trail cam to find out. I mean, maybe it is a skunk, and I'm just underestimating what a skunk can do. You know? So I think if it had, there's Shadow. Let's see. Let's see.
Ta-da!
There you
Hi,
are.
Shadow.
Yeah, the one and only.
Yeah, it's good to see
The
you.
one and only.
Yeah, good to see you too.
Hi.
Hey, CR, good to see you too.
How's your chili plant doing?
My both of them doing pretty good. I can go and get them for you.
Yeah, do that. I want to see them.
All right.
Yeah,
I mean, this is supposed to be a gardening talk, right? So,
Yeah. Unfortunately, I can't really show any plants because they're like all outside or in a completely different part of the house.
or they're really, really big.
Yeah. I should, would be nice if I could set up my computer where my,
oh, no.
Yeah,
where
I know
my
what you
herb
mean.
garden
Yeah.
is.
Well, maybe you could try that out, right? I mean,
Yeah.
I know a gardener where you, well, like even if you, I mean, I know people on YouTube here even do testing something out, right? Where they just need an audience just to make sure it's working, right?
Yep. Yep.
So,
Okay, here is the first one.
Oh
oh
my
wow,
God.
that looks
You know what?
that looks so
like
much
a
better.
tomato.
Yeah,
It looks like a tomato.
yeah, it kind of does, eh? Actually, you know what? With the leaf structure, yeah, it kind of does, eh?
I have
I mean, you
no
don't see the little
idea.
hairs.
It looks awesome.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
looking
it
good.
does.
Yeah, because Idaho Gardener, I saw these before he transplanted them. So they're
And
much
here is
better
the other one.
Oh,
now.
that one is,
Oh wow.
yeah, that's definitely a pepper. It's looking great. There's two of them,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, it's two chili plants,
It looks great.
and I have
Yeah,
one flower in there on this
I
one,
see that. I see
Ooh.
that flower.
Ooh.
Yeah,
and
I see
I have more buds on this one.
Nice, nice.
on which one?
On this one.
Oh, okay. Yep, yep, yep. Awesome. It looks very healthy and happy.
Yeah, I gave them nutrition, chili nutrition.
Mm.
Oh, good.
Yeah, chili and nutrient. And the soil I use is actually a special made soil for tomatoes, actually.
Oh,
Mm.
well, that's
Okay.
good. That
Yeah,
means it
and that works perfectly.
yeah, it probably has calcium in it.
Probably.
So yeah, so uppotting definitely helped
Yeah, yeah.
dramatically. Hey,
Putting it in those larger pots allows the roots to expand, so that's good.
yeah,
Yeah. So I'm
yeah.
going back with them. I don't want to have them on the floor.
Okay, okay.
Okay.
Or the cats will eat my plants, and I don't want that.
Let's
Trust
not
me,
that.
trust me, they will do. Eat
Oh
my
my
plants.
goodness.
Let's not let that happen. But yeah, I remember. I don't know, Garner. I remember when he showed me when they were still in the original containers. I was just like, yeah, they look almost 50% bigger,
Yeah,
in my opinion.
yeah,
I think, yeah, because you'll start to notice that, right? It's just like, it's like, is it on handle the transplant? Is it on get transplant shock? Well, if you're seeing it grow, the leaves grow,
right.
it's good. It's good to go.
Yeah, yeah.
That's what I say.
Yeah,
That's what I like to say.
those are good looking plants, aren't they, Star? Yeah, Star said he thinks your plants look great, Shadow.
Yeah, they do. I'm gonna water them again,
That's good.
but I do that later. It's too hot.
Yeah. As long as there's some moisture in the ground, it's still good.
Yeah.
I was gonna say this is why lately I've been taking pictures or video while I'm transplanting them or plants, so you can compare it to like days later and be like, oh yeah, it is actually growing.
They
Right.
they were really small when I got them from my wife. So
Yeah, I still remember that shadow. Well, because sometimes you don't see the day-to-day stuff, but pictures allow you to see that the time frame over time, that the how it looks over time.
Right.
You compare it to last week or a couple of days ago. It's like, oh yeah, it is growing.
Yeah.
Because you can actually notice the difference.
Yeah. Photographic evidence.
Yeah.
Although it's not a photo, it's a picture.
Hmm.
So I do at least something right
Yeah, exactly right.
with them.
Hey, if it's still growing, you're doing something right.
That's true.
But I have no idea what type of chili it is. The first one has hair on the stem that you
Oh,
that it looks like a tomato plant.
Mhm.
oh,
But I have no idea what kind of chili it is. So
oh. Well, that will be interesting, won't it?
yeah, that will be a surprise, I guess. And the
Yeah,
other
that'll be the
one,
day.
I have no idea either what it is
Mm.
for kind of chili. It could be not that a milder chili or a hotter chili. I have no idea.
Well, it's going
Mm.
to be fun to see what it turns out to be.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm assuming it'll probably get a little bit bigger. Probably got a couple more buds on it, blooms on it. Yeah, it's gonna turn out awesome, Shadow. I could just tell.
yeah.
How long has it been since you transplanted? A
When
couple
did I
weeks, I know for sure.
Yeah,
Maybe like
yeah, definitely.
like 3 weeks, hasn't it?
I believe it was last month.
Yeah. Well, see, that's another reason why I was to take the pictures of the video because it's time stamped, right? So I remember, oh, it was actually 2 weeks ago, exactly, or 14 days ago, 21 days ago, right? So
Right.
you can see kind of how your progress in time.
Right.
It's almost like writing down the date of something or whatever, right? It's the same thing.
Yeah, I try to take pictures of like when I plant stuff out or something like that, and then, then I know the date that I did it.
And
I
yeah,
try,
then you can
I, yeah,
compare it to like now, right?
yeah,
Be like, hey, 2 weeks,
I try
it
to
doubled
write
in height in 2 weeks. Yes.
I try to write all this stuff down in a little book, but I forget. And so then I go back and look at the video or the picture and note the date, you know,
Hmm.
and then I could say, oh, I put that in the ground on June 16th or whatever.
Yeah, yeah. And you can, be like, wow, that was only 30 days ago.
Yeah, yeah,
And it's like, you know, doubled or tripled in size.
right. Yep.
Hmm. Well, because it also gives you confidence too. It's be like, for the amount of time it's growing quite well.
Yeah.
I must be doing something right. Yes.
It does help your confidence. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Plants really do want to grow. They want to grow. It's
Yeah,
just, it's
I transplanted them. I made a video basically on it, so I can on when I on that is called transplanted chili plants. I made that video May 14th, so I transplanted them May 13th.
there's Howie. Hi, Howie. How are you?
Hi, Howie.
I made a mistake, Howie.
Hey, Howie.
When you said 6:30 a.m., for some reason, well, I know why, but I thought, oh, that's 5:30 my time, and 6:30 your time is 7:30 my time. So I made a mistake. I'm so used to watching people uh, on the East Coast, and they're always later than me. Hi, Howie. bring you up here.
Hello, good morning.
Hi.
Hi, Howie. Good morning, Howie.
Hi, CR. I didn't see you there.
Yes, I decided to a warm up act for everyone.
Oh,
Keep her busy
well,
too.
it's only 5:30 my time, so I figured I had another hour, but I don't think that it was known about the time, so
It was my fault. It was my fault because I think
nobody.
I explained it when you said 6:30. I thought it must be 5:30 my time instead of so it was my fault. I'm sorry, Howie.
All good. I'm not offended at all. How you doing, Swede?
I'm doing pretty good. Well, I manage actually. It's too hot here. I can't stand the heat actually.
Yeah,
And
I like it cool. It's 10 Celsius here right now. That's perfect for me.
10
That's 50
Celsius.
Fahrenheit.
Yeah, I would like to have 10 Celsius myself. We have over 20, more, maybe over 30 degrees Celsius in the sun. So I can't stand the heat very well. I have very low heat resistance. I couldn't, when it's colder, I have better resistance to that. So, and I get problems with my breathing when it's this hot, and I feel constantly thirsty. So it feel like I drink, but it's like the water I drink evaporates from my body, and I can get 7-8 liters water a day when it's hot.
Put some lemon juice in there. Squeeze some fresh lemon juice in that water. Because you're losing electrolytes through sweating because it's so hot. You drink water with lemon in it, or eat cucumber. That's got a lot. That has a lot of positively charged minerals, and you won't feel as thirsty and irritated.
Yeah. And I feel constantly sick, basically, when it's hot like this. Yeah, I call it tropical heat. Everything over 80 from 15 to 18 degrees, that is tropical heat for me.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
My body is not made to stand that kind of heat. Basically, we live so far up in north, our bodies up here should not be able to handle this type of heat. Because we are more used to cooler and colder climate.
That's true.
Okay, yeah, those in Africa, Philippines, and Asia, they are built and for that kind of temperature. We are not here.
Right. Well, I grew up down along the Mexican border, and it was very, very hot down there. It would get to be like 118 degrees in the summer, and it was
Put me in the
extremely hot.
freezer immediately.
And I moved north in about 1975. I moved to Washington State.
Nice.
Yeah, and Eastern Washington, northeastern Washington, anyway. And it took me years. It took me years before I was used to the weather. I had to wear a jacket every single day. 365 days of the year, I wore a jacket because I was just constantly cold. And then all of a sudden, my body switched and I adjusted to the cold.
You became acclimated.
Yes, acclimated. Yeah, exactly. So I know it's a transition. I mean, seriously, my hands were freezing, my toes were freezing.
Circulation.
Yeah, I was just so cold. But anyway, so it's all changed now. And
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. You'll get used to it. It's the. You know.
yeah, I think I would be in trouble if I moved. Uh, well, I lived in Arizona for a few years, and that was pretty darn hot. Let me tell you. Yeah.
Where CR lives there, it's pretty cold, And in Idaho,
Oh
it's
yeah.
not warm either.
Right, right,
Mhm.
right, right.
It's
So,
like when you're transplanting, all right, it has to get adjusted to the conditions. Being outside, for
exactly.
example, in the
Right,
sun, the
yeah,
wind, the water.
right. You have to harden them off.
Yeah, it's the same thing, right? Plants
Yeah.
have to do it, so do we.
So, Howie, I've got some questions here to ask you.
I didn't do it. I wasn't there. I don't know anything about it. And
It
you
was
get
my
on
fault.
your
It
hands
was
when you're
my fault.
saying that too.
So, how did you ever get into gardening in the very first place?
Necessity.
So,
Yeah.
explain.
Well, when I was a kid, you had to grow food. So we're all sitting around. It was probably early April, and we're eating watermelons. So I'm 3 years old, and I'm looking around, and there was a fertilizer. It was a white or like a clear plastic fertilizer bag with writing on it. So I figured I'd cut that up. That'd be my heat because they're all talking. So I'm learning.
Right?
So the adults are talking. So I thought, okay, I'm going to take my watermelon seeds and I'll plant them. And I'm 3 years old on the Canadian tundra, so you can
Oh my
imagine
gosh.
you can imagine their look that I'm going to grow watermelon. They encouraged me, and they're like, "Oh, okay, sure." And because my job was to weed out the sandy part where the carrots were. Everybody had a job, and my job was that. And so I put my watermelons there, and lo and behold, several popped up, and I had willows bent because I watched other people what they do, and I was just barely walking when I was doing that, and I grew watermelon.
Oh
And the
my
thing is, it was only about the size of a golf ball. But hey, you're 3 years old. You did pretty good, I figured. And what they did is they chopped up the watermelon, and then we tried it. Of course, it wasn't that palatable, but we ate it. But we always had to scrape the where the swamp was for the black soil, and my dad had a tractor. He was one of the few people there that had a tractor. He had a little D8 tractor. Well, it's not little, it's actually pretty good size, but that's how you would move on the tundra with the tractor when it was frozen.
right.
But if you went off the main road, you'd sink. So what would happen is that Dad would push the black soil around and get buckets of it and bring it to where the garden patch was, and then we'd work it all in, and then we'd plant that turnips, cabbage, potatoes, and we didn't sell much of it, but we utilized it. We had our own cellar, and then we had our own sawmill too.
Oh wow.
So we had the sawdust, and Dad would get bags of lime. God knows where. I don't know how he ended up with that, but he would get the lime, and he would make the soil. Dad called it sweet. He would make the soil sweet. So
Okay.
so that's how I was started. And then after I left the tundra, I was just before my teens. I met my grandfather, and my grandfather was a plant enthusiast. So he picked me up from there and brought me to Vancouver Island. And
Wow.
there's bananas that grow in Soyuz in hothouses. So we went there and picked bananas, and I wrote my buddies in. They didn't believe me. Like, you can't pick bananas in Canada and stuff. I'm like, yeah, I did, man. And they're like 12 years old, 11, 12, 13 years old. And they're like, no. They asked their school teacher. School teacher said no. So I look like this guy that is crazy. So it's just kept on going from there. I grow lemons outside and bananas outside, and I grow loquat. I've tried to grow avocado, but I just like to grow things that I try to push the envelope a little bit, and I grow my own food, but I make my own soil because my grandfather would sit me down, and there was a stump, and you had a hatchet, and you'd chop everything, and then you'd put it around the raspberries to keep the weeds out. Basically, I never changed when I learned about permaculture. We just did that anyway. You know,
Right,
it
right,
just it's a Mayan technique of putting your kitchen waste and refuse back into the ground
right.
and making beautiful soil. And that's the missing link with humans and the earth, is that it all goes to the landfill, or it goes to a compost place or a recycling place, and then nobody ever sees it again. It's like the water. The water, when it rains, it all goes down into the sewer and out into the ocean. That's not where water goes. Water
Right,
goes back into the aquifer. You see,
right,
if you want
right.
real. So there's a lot of missing pieces in humans survivability. It's just not going to work. Eventually, if you take a peach and you tap it, it's bruised, and eventually the bruise goes all the way around and it rots. It's the same thing with the planet Earth. It's no different, really.
Right.
So
That's a
yeah.
very interesting analogy. Yeah. Wow.
Well, it's a comparison so humans can realize, like, this is it, and like, I've been around a lot of academics, and I've been around a lot of rubes, common laymen, and just your average Joe, right? So I listen to everyone, and my deduction is, I've deduced that humans, eventually people will go gray man. Eventually that's what'll happen. You know, humans are not that smart. They're just not that intelligent as they think they are. They're smarter than rocks, and they're smarter than some things, but they're not that intelligent as they think they are. They're just there's some with high IQs. I'll give that the to Earthlings, but they're really not. They're very temperamental. They're sluggish. They get sick. I mean, they live, what, 70 years? Turtles outlive you. Parrots outlive
Yeah.
you. It's just like, okay, why does a parrot live 300 years? Well, because they sit there and they eat veggies and nuts and they have a good time. Well, humans have lost their way, you see. That's why that's they're out of their environment. They don't know to follow the squirrel trail to his stash and get his, squirrels stash eggs, apples, nuts. They're smart.
Yeah.
They're very smart. So you find where the squirrel goes, and you can survive during gray man. Gray man is coming, and caves are your best friend. In a tunnel, in a room down. It's so easy with a shovel and some timber to make a cave. And then if you have hard rock, well, a healthy drill. You see it on YouTube all the time. People drill, take out the rock, and then they have their little home.
Right.
It doesn't take, $1 million and 40 years to own a home. It takes about 2 weeks work for a cob house, a 1-bedroom one, or
Right.
rammer. I mean, my friend's family all came from the Ukraine, and they lived in hutties, or mud huts. Soddies, they were called, soddies, and because they're made from sod, so they made a word, soddies. So they made these, and they lived in them in 40 and 50 below. You
Right.
see? Yeah, so it's we're out of our environment. If the earth is going to make it, we all have to go back to the earth, the soil, growing our own food, and don't eat factory food.
Right. Right. So, Howie, what do you mean by gray man? We're all going to go gray man. I've
Well, it's
heard, but
every
I don't know
person.
what it means.
Well, it's every person for themselves.
Oh, okay.
There's
Oh,
not The village is gone now. See, once the village is gone, you're in your little apartment, you're in your house, you're on your farm, you're away from everybody else. So that's a gray man situation right there on a minor scale, but it
right.
is there. It's giving you that ideology, and I'm not going to go that way. I'll always look after my village. I don't, and my family. I'm not going to go gray man, but a lot of people have, and it's in our institutions to do so. You put mom and grandma all in the old age home and you forget about them. That's crazy. That's crazy. They stay home with you. You're a family unit. You're much stronger as a family unit.
Right. They have a lot of wisdom to add, a lot of life experience to share.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Gray man's not going to be pretty for a lot of people because it's after the fall. It's after what you use as security has fallen. You see,
Right.
like Steve at Corsair Trainers, he's talking about people that have woke up and smelled the coffee. Well, I smelled the coffee at 12 years old when I met my grandfather. He handed me secret books on what really happens, right? So there's forces and people in control that you never meet that control your life from cradle to grave. And it's when you switch off and deprogram, and you're not part of that system, you're going to be there'll be 10 to 12 people in your local area keeping an eye on you. You can bet on it because
Yeah.
the system's afraid of people that are outside the system.
Right.
So there's a fear there. So this fear is that, well, it's there. It's not hatred. It's they're afraid.
Right.
And I mean, if you look at money, this is an interesting one. If you look at money, what's it good for? Toilet paper. That's about it. And lighting your fire, really. You know,
Right.
it's a piece of paper.
It
But
is.
everybody sells 40 years, half their life and more for a piece of paper. What the hell?
Right.
Not for me, man. I like to go fishing, cut clams, I collect seaweed, grow my food. I do buy a few things, but not many. Like I haven't been to a grocery store for a really long time. It's I'll go buy coffee because I'm addicted to coffee, but I haven't figured out how to grow it yet. But chicory
Right.
root I hear is similar. So just look after yourself and your community and the soil. Soil's number one. If the soil's in good shape, you'll be in good shape. If you don't have good soil, you walk out of your little unit, your little your little apartment, whatever, and you look, oh look, there's a green lawn. You're not going to make it. A gray man will pick you off and take what you have.
Right. Right.
It's not all gray men are going to be bad, but they've obviously are used to, being a pirate, like skullduggery, right? So
Right.
so if you're looking weak and old, well, it's nature's way of weeding you out is, another human comes along and takes what you have, and that human becomes stronger, not necessarily smarter. I haven't met too many smart humans yet. Even myself, I'm learning all the time and I'm dumbfounded. So, I'm just trying to make my way. I'm not trying to insult earthlings or anything, but they're a lot of them, most of them are brainwashed. The poor things don't even know too much. So when I was watching Steve's videos, like don't tell them too much because they freak out. People freak out, and oh my God, right? And then you're dealing with someone that's that's having a mental health crisis because they actually realize that this world is controlled by hundreds of millions of cult people. They
Right.
control this world. And as soon as they find out the reality, it's like, wow, some people freak out. Some people are like, oh, there's like 5 or 6 types of earthlings. There's 5 or 6 types. Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm. So what exactly is your definition of permaculture?
Regenerative.
Okay.
Yeah. You're regenerating your environment.
So
not
how
going to
oh,
go
go
ahead.
ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I forget what I was going to say.
Oh, okay. Well, I was going to say, so why did you evolve from just gardening to permaculture?
Well, just try to save the planet. Because permaculture is already was well known. Howie, well, there's a million Howies in the world. So I looked at permaculture and went, well, okay, I'll just show people what I do, and it's the same thing. And
Right.
I kind of did some studying, and then Bill Mollison was the originator, and co-originator was David Holmgren. Those guys sitting around and dreamt up permaculture, the word, but it's a copy of a Mayan growing food, is what it is.
Right.
Or someone that knows about growing food, like an estate gardener or a horticulturalist or something like that, or a master gardener. Or one time, everybody had their own garden and they
Yeah.
shared. Now nobody has a garden. Everybody relies on some poor Mexican slaving in a lemon tree.
Yeah. That's
It's
terrible.
crazy.
It's terrible.
Yeah, but you look after your soil. Soil is number one. Find your way of making your own soil. Nothing leaves your property, and microbes are your best friend, and cardboard and leaves. And once you
Right.
start seeing the change after season, it's easier for you. But it's a bit frightening for people to they get all well, they get ambiguous. They get too big for their britches because they want everything now, and that's not how nature works. Unless you're foraging and it's opportunistic and you found a honey hive, right? And my buddy, when I was on my trip, just my last trip there, he's like, "How do we find where all these bees are going?" I said, "Well, look along the shore there, find that little tiny feather, grab that bee and get some pitch, put it onto the feather and stick it onto the bee and watch him go. Where
Right.
he goes, that's where your honey is." He's like, "Are you for real?" The guy's trying. My guy is pretty good. He's a chief scout of Canada. He's a Duke of Edinburgh award winner. And so he's had dinner with King Charles, and he's a pretty skookum guy. Right? He knows everything to do in an emergency or to survive. So I met him years ago when we were young men, and we were working. I was a tree surgeon, and I would go and heal up wounded trees, with acupuncture and digging out the rot and whatever I had to do. And so I spent 20 years with that guy. So then when I retired, he's coming to retirement age soon. Well, not soon. He's late 40s, but it's the best guy to go with is your chief scout. Find someone that knows everything and make them your mentor and best friend. And if you got to give up $100 to pay for them to have them for the day or whatever, it's well worth it to find out not to eat the white berries.
Yeah, there you go.
All berries are edible once, but
That's funny. So you mentioned Bill Mollison and David Holmgren.
Holmgren, yeah.
Yeah, I've heard of them.
Yeah, well, Bill Mollison passed a few years ago, about 5 years ago, and broke my heart. But I never met the guy, but my students met him, and his students met me, but I never met Bill. And I don't have an institute like Bill had. I just, if someone comes my way that wants to learn, fine, and then build the Food Forest, I'll go along with them. And then David Holmgren, I've bought a few of his books, and it's really interesting if you go to Holmgren Designs on YouTube, and there's my icon. He put my icon on his YouTube channel. I thought, oh, that's really good.
Oh,
That's
wow.
pretty cool. Yeah. There's not very many on there, and I just went, oh, okay. So I always watch what he puts out, and he's an interesting guy. I've never met David either, but I've been on lots of his live streams. Like I get sent that David's live. So, and then his latest book he put out, well, not his latest book, it's a couple of years back now, it was actually more than that, was Retro Suburbia. So how to retrofit the city. But I found some things missing, you know. But I mean, he's just, you know, who he is. But and there's a ton of really valuable information. But for me, there wasn't enough on making soil, you see. And he sent me an email the other day asking me about the book, what I enjoyed, what I thought was missing. So I don't want to break anybody's, you know, heart by saying, hey, it all starts with soil. But he kind of goes into it a little bit of compost and this and that. But I do Pathway Soil Bank. And I took words from David Holmgren, Pathway, that's in permaculture. And then Soil Bank is my own adaptation. So I put the two words together so people in the city can make soil, and it's just layers. You know, soil's made 1 inch every 10 years in nature, right? So if you can make 10 inches in a day, oh, what's going on here? Humans are smarter. Instead of it going to the landfill or the recycling depot and then some corporation gets your money, you know, like I don't have a green bin. I wouldn't allow it off the truck. Well, they took it off the truck. They just force things onto you, this world. So I knew a semi not supposed to be coming down my street. The load's too heavy for one. So I went out to see what's going on. And then the city engineers have thought up another brilliant idea to everybody's garbage can is no longer any good, and you have to buy this one here. Right. So, well, I don't like things forced upon me. So I said, well, what am I going to do with it? And there's this young girl there, and she's like, well, that's for your kitchen waste, sir. I said, well, I have a food forest. I don't have kitchen waste. She goes, oh, no, everyone has kitchen waste. I said, I don't. I don't have any. So she's like, well, if you don't take it, we're going to search your garbage and give you a fine. I was just like, well, you'll be writing out a lot of fines because you can put them over there in that mailbox and then they'll never get paid, I said. So then my family, we went to the municipality and said, look, you know, here's your garbage can, right? No. That's a green recycling bin. I said, no, that's a garbage can. I said. And I don't have garbage either. I don't put out garbage. What's garbage? There's nothing left for garbage. It's all recycling. What's left? Kitchen waste. Well, that goes into Pathway Soil Bank. So $22 million to buy all the vehicles, right? I'm just talking about $22 million. It was unnecessary. Now the landfill's filling up, which is unnecessary. And it's all about money, just paper that you can wipe your butt with.
Right. Exactly.
So they took off $240 off my tax bill.
Good.
For not having that green garbage can. I said, I'm not paying for something that I don't use.
Right.
And so all my students that worked for government agencies and stuff, and they all sent theirs back and they told their colleagues too. So there's this line of bringing back green garbage cans, and we'd like our money back retroactive too, because never used, right? Because I had to hang on to it. They wouldn't take it back right away. They so we'll send someone next year to pick it up. I said, no, I'm not letting a year go by. That's $240 that you're taking from me. And you know, people tried they're programmed, so they try to program you with neuro-linguistic programming. It's an old Jedi mind trick to me. Like, I watch Star Wars to piss off, right? I can't be too nasty. Like, you know, I try to be diplomatic, but you can lose your patience with people that are just blind. They're just blind. And my father used to tell me, because I would try to help people and explain everything to them. My father would go, you're wasting your time. You can time better spent doing something else. And I never understood that you didn't. He's like, no, you're wasting your time. They don't know. If they don't know, they're not going to. It's as simple as that. So, you know, just changing the green garbage can, if I had my way, it's $100 million industry in my city. that could is not necessary, except the only thing that's necessary is everybody to make soil and do recycling. All these trucks have all the noise pollution, the air pollution, the carbon footprint. It's insanity. We just spent $1.2 billion. Okay, check this out. Where I live in the city, I live on the outside of the city. So the government spent $1.2 billion putting in a new sewage treatment plant. Okay. Because they don't want it going out into Harrow Strait anymore or Juan de Fuca Strait, right? They don't want it going out in the ocean anymore. So I'm like, well, where are they going to put it? Right. I'm interested. Insanity. They put it above our watershed.
What?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. They don't have any place to put after tertiary. They don't have any place to put solids.
Oh, wow.
So they started shipping it to Vancouver to the mainland, but that became super costly. So then they put it up in Lake Cowichan, and the First Nations are like, no, we don't want that. And then now it's stored above our watershed.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's crazy because everything that you eat and consume and put in that toilet comes from Mother Earth. Now putting it back into Mother Earth is the key here to survival of the human race, the species.
Right.
We're in the 6th largest extinction known to mankind right now, presently. We lose 240 to 275 species a day, unprecedented. That does not happen on a normal rate. At this rate, where are humans on this 6th largest extinction? Where are humans?
Yeah, I don't know.
It's not far off.
Right.
Like, I'm not trying to put fear or scare anybody. I'm just giving up the straight truth here, man. And it can be harsh to realize, the grandkids, they might have a real hard time. And forget the grandkids, your kids, you are going to have a hard time.
Right. Yeah.
Without massive change, there's no change. Without change, there's no change.
Right.
So this planet's in a little bit of rough shape, and it can be corrected. It would take 10 to 12 years to correct it. But given the opportunities, that's why I put permaculture onto Howie culture. That was many years ago. And I remember my clients going, "Oh, Howie, you know anything about permaculture?" I'm like, "Nope, nothing." And they're like, "Well, it's just like you, Howie." I'm like, "Well, I haven't met anybody like me." So I wasn't optimistic that it was going to happen.
Right.
So because for one, I never used a computer before.
Right.
I had no time for nonsense. And that's how I looked at it. Where's my book, right?
Right.
So I did the switch to permaculture to make it more known, and I've been given some accolades and kudos over it, like getting my icon on David Olmgren's YouTube channel. It's like a gold medal to me.
Right.
It means something.
That's great.
Hmm.
That's awesome.
Well, thank you kindly.
Yeah. So my next question is, as a permaculturist, what are your goals? And I think you might have already stated that, but maybe not specifically.
Well, my goal is to every human to look after this planet. Every human has to plant a food forest. You know how much oxygen would be on this planet if every human planted a food forest?
Right.
So I encourage, I have 9 built in the city over 15 years where I am.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I did not get paid for any of that. I built those with other people for free to show other people, to show other people, to show up. Did I mention to show other people?
Right.
But, the goal is to make soil look after the land. It's healthy. And just War's wrong and hatred's wrong. You're just scared. If you hate something, you're scared. You're fearing. You're
That's true.
fearing. Yeah, it's the opposite of love is fear.
Yep. Yep.
So you try to show as much love. You catch more flies with sugar than vinegar, right?
That's for sure.
But if you go and watch Bill Mollison's videos there and some of his lectures, it's pretty wild, this world the way it is. Your name given on your birthday is quite something. That's the start of your ownership, not
Right.
stewardship. Stewardship's a totally different ball game. Yeah, but Bill Mollison, he would fly to Africa. He had a little Cessna, and he would fly to Africa and check out what the ladies are doing, because it's the women that grow the food in Africa. The men are all doing whatever they do, but they watch the women work. I'm like, what a bunch of nut jobs. You don't watch women work, man. You get out there and bust a nut too. What the hell is that crap? And I said that one time to a lady too. She had a live stream from I think it was Kenya, and all these guys are like, they look like nasty creatures. And the women look like they're enslaving it. And I said so. They blocked me, telling them
Oh my God.
I didn't care. But Bill would go over there and try to stop the pirates and the raiders that come in to take everything, And they weren't humans that are doing it. It was monkeys. Monkeys were coming into the food forest. So what he did, he planted euphorbia, the tall 12 foot euphorbia. And nothing goes through that except a hedgehog. Nothing goes through that. Nothing consumes it but a hedgehog, because you can't consume it. It's very toxic. It's blinded more people than all wars combined.
Wow.
So he put that around the entire, he didn't do it, but he showed people what to do. And now the monkeys didn't come and take their sustenance anymore, their food.
Well, that's good.
It just takes someone from the outside to see when you're in there. Like when I go to farms, like organic farms, and I see the difference that they're working hard, but they're not seeing everything, and they're working too hard. You see? So the last farm I was involved with, it was a 29-acre, and I'm still involved there. I go by there once in a while and see the gang and whatnot, but he was working too hard, and his wife had blisters on her hands, and I'm putting aloe vera on her hands. I'm like, Jesus, what are you doing out here? She's like, well, I have to hoe the field. I said, no, you don't. I said, that's one thing you don't do. You don't hoe anything. Right. She's like, why? So, you put soil on top of weeds. Okay, when they're first coming out, the weed's gone.
Right.
Put mulch on it. So it ended up the town brought all the leaves in their big trucks for free. So they had lots of leaf mulch, lots of humic acid, right? So anyway, their farm in the consecutive years after I visited, I put 25 videos on YouTube about it. And their farm profit went up over 30%.
Oh, wow.
And they did 50% less work.
Huh.
That's the idea of permaculture. You're not slaving it, man. Right. I mean, you meet up once a week and you all bring what you've grown or traded in the Walmart parking lot. It's closed or whatever, you see, after hours, and you just all meet there. You all exchange and leave. There's no big corporate building to buy or anything. Right. And in Norway and in Switzerland and Sweden, there's a lot of permacultures that just meet up, or farmers that just meet up and exchange. There's no money. They just exchange what's needed and see you later. Okay. Very simple.
That's great.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a question. Like where I live, I only get something like 15 inches of moisture, of precipitation a year. And, like most of it happens in the winter. And the rest of the time it's wet, it's dry. So what do you do in that sort of a situation?
Plant a food forest.
Right?
Well, what happens when you plant a food?
Rain.
What happens when you plant a food forest? you have a canopy, and so
Right.
the water is not leaving the ground as fast. Then you can redirect ditch water to your food forest, swales, ponds. You can make those things happen. You want to retain water where you have low water. I mean, there's ways to once you have it established with soil and it's growing, it will look after itself. And that's what you want, to have the forest to have autonomy where it doesn't need you. Okay, if I was to leave this food forest, it would look after itself,
Right.
because I have 3 to 5 feet of rich black humus that during the winter time, and then when the snow melts and rain, soaks up the water. It's like a giant sponge. Okay, so that giant sponge can release water over the hot time when it doesn't, like you're having problems with, there's no rain and this and that. That you'll get to know your environment. Hey, and if you pick up a sponge and squeeze it, the water runs out of it, right?
Right.
But if you don't disturb the sponge keeps water in there forever.
Right.
It's the same idea when you make pathway soil bank. All the stuff that you put in there, chop and drop, your kitchen waste, your coffee grounds from Starbucks, your peanut shells from the peanut factory, whatever you have to put in as a layer, and soil's made in layers, that keeps the moisture in and it keeps the roots cool. And the big thing is, if you don't have water where you are, start growing trees that are tap rooted, that go straight down into the ground, not lateral growing ones. I looked at your orchard. You did good.
Yeah.
I looked at most of your videos, but on the big screen, you can't comment, but at
Right.
least
Right.
I've watched a lot of them. You have a lot. You're doing really well, and that in itself is a canopy. Once you get
Yes.
once you get trees going, and you put vines in the trees, you see, you put your grape, your kiwi, and stuff like that, and climbing roses into the tree, and people right away go, oh, it's going to kill the tree, it's going to do this. Well, Jesus, you're going to wake up tomorrow too, so don't worry about it. and, so I put vines in the trees because my grandfather did, and we always had huge amount of food, like more than we could ever use. And we're on this little 1/4 acre lot. And I'm like, okay, I'm off and running here. I have a good start. And so when I raised my kids, I hunted, I gathered, I grew food. I went to university. I ended up with a career and a job. But it was, what was missing was the soil, making the soil. Every day I spend 5, 10, 15 minutes making soil, and it's never stopped, and it won't stop. I export soil to the neighbors and to other food forests now. That's how I start food forest on empty lots.
Wow.
It doesn't take much, but you want to, cardboard, a simple act of putting cardboard underground and some leaves, that holds moisture in. But
Yeah.
storing rainwater off the roof, that's a big one. And another thing is capturing mildew, or capturing dew on that's in the air, like when fog comes by. There's gadgets now, and dehumidifiers. They produce 10 to 17 liters of water.
Oh,
I mean, how
wow.
much water? Once the food forest takes off, and yours is, I mean, you're getting there. Once it takes
Yeah.
off and looks after itself, and you don't need to water it, and you can go away and leave it for 2 or 3 years, then you've got something to brag about.
Yeah. Yeah. Mine still takes water. I have pressurized irrigation.
Yeah, I don't have any of that.
Yeah, I know, but you get rain.
Yeah, but I get rain all winter, and it soaks up into this giant sponge called the food forest floor, the pathway
Yeah.
soil bank.
Right.
I'm constantly making pathway soil banks. When I empty I dig a hole, and I put the soil all over the forest floor. Then I fill that up with weeds, branches, twigs, kitchen waste, and just becomes part of it. I was just watching a thing on Charles Dowding. He's a really great no digger, eh?
Yeah.
You ever watch that guy?
Oh, yeah. Lot.
Yeah. he surprises me all the time. One time he starts talking French, and I'm like, I'm trying to remember what. Oh yeah, I spent a whole year learning French one time. I'm trying to remember. I'm trying to figure out what he's saying, but he's full of surprises. And the big thing is that he makes soil no dig. He just puts another layer on, another layer on. Does he water? Not so much. You don't have to water if you have the right soil amended and not disturbed. When you have the mycelium and microbes and they're doing their work, okay, and the nematodes are, everything's doing everything, then you're not needed. You're not necessary. You see,
Right.
it's
Right.
like my carrots self-seed, you know, my potatoes look after themselves.
Right.
My cinnamon, wasabi, mamozuna, they all grow. You've probably seen the videos. It's growing here,
Yeah.
it's growing there. It's polyculture. If you take a nice little row of lettuce and put it out in the field, by the next day, a bunch of gophers are going to eat it or bugs or
That's
something. So
true.
you mix
That is
it
so
up. You put a
true.
few here and a few there, and you're smarter than a gopher, okay?
I hope so.
Well, a lot of humans are not. They're scared.
Oh,
That's the big thing is fear. Oh, I heard there's dangerous flesh-eating microbes in that soil. Yeah, about 2 billion kinds. And I said, don't worry about it. You're not gonna eat it, are you?
yeah, you're already here on the planet, so you survived most of those.
Well, you're born with fungus inside you. It comes from your father's sperm. So that's how fungus is passed on to the next human. It's not through the mother. And the father's sperm has fungus on it, so that's why you get a fungus nail and this and that. And when I look at my blood or other people's blood, on a microscope, I can see mold, yeast, and fungus in there and garbage dumps. You see,
Huh,
I can tell you what each cell is, but what I can't tell you and make you do is look after yourself. It's up to you.
right.
But I've seen people freak out, kick, punch, and scream when they look at what's inside them.
Huh,
Yeah, they just freak right out. There's 100 trillion entities inside every human being. Eh? So when a human goes, oh, gee, I'm hungry for a chocolate bar, or I'm hungry for sugar. Well, no, the human being isn't. The 100 trillion entities are. It's interesting stuff because the mold, yeast, and fungus. The agar is sugar. Sugar feeds mold, yeast, and fungus. Like that when you get gray hair and you become old, rancid, and stinky, it's because you've run out of enzymes, complex molecule builders. So it's really interesting when you ask me about permaculture questions and stuff. It's a very broad field
right.
and it's constantly learning, and it's the best part of your day.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh
I
yeah,
agree.
it's awesome. Learning is very awesome. Now, learning accurate, usable information. Now that's no nonsense. But you have to learn so much nonsense. Like when you spend 18 years in a school, I'm not trying to pick on the school system. A lot of teachers are in my family and village, but it's a waste of time. You're putting at 18 to 20 years. That's not going to help this planet whatsoever.
Right.
As a matter of fact, it'll be a hindrance on the health of the planet, you going to school. If you're going to go to school where it means something.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean anything to go learn nonsense about who was prime minister and who was premier, what war happened here in history. Don't bother. Just make soil and don't bother going to school. That's what I tell people. They're like, they look at me like, okay, you'll figure it out in about 20 years when you wake up.
Right. Right.
Be direct, be honest, don't hurt anybody's feelings. And the only reason you're on this planet, like myself, is to leave a legacy that you helped every person. No matter what they are, what label, dogma, or stigma they have put on them, they could be the most heinous individuals. You still help them because people that were in prison, that come out of prison, that study permaculture here, they don't go back to prison anymore. They don't do any more crimes. You see,
That's good.
and putting them in a cage, that's not teaching them anything. You're teaching
No,
that when someone's bad around you, you can put them in a cage. What the fuck? What the hell's that? Sorry about the language. You
yeah,
can bleep it out later. I don't like cages for humans. I just don't. It's something I can become very fervent about. I don't care for cages for humans. Humans, no animal even belongs in a cage. Not alone humans. I mean, do you feel any self-worth when you're put in a cage for 30 or 40 years?
no,
Now, if you're dangerous, hey, I'm all for it. But
right,
if you want to change and learn to look after yourself, I'm all for that. And I would never mention anything that I knew about a person that did a crime. It doesn't enter the equation anymore. Now this earthling is an earthling. See? Yeah. Boy, you sure got me gabbing today there. What about you? Tell us about you there, Steph.
well, but this is supposed to be your interview about you, Howie.
You know, that's good programming.
So, well, a lot of people just want to know, like, what are when you think about all the things that you've done, what are the things that you feel are your most important accomplishments?
Making soil, making friends, loving people, treating them with love. No fear, man. My best legacy is I left this place in better shape than I found it. So,
That's great.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
great.
Lots don't do that. I've only had, like, I rent out some of my places and stuff, and I've only had one person actually leave the place in better shape than any other person. And it was this lady. And she left here recently. She found a job on the mainland. And she came here and she absolutely loved the place, stayed a while. And then I said, well, so what are you going to do? She goes, I'm going to find my way like you did. And she went off and now she's finding her way. See?
That's great.
Nobody owns anybody on this planet. Contrary to
Exactly.
popular belief, oh, this is my wife. This is the one that gets me. This is my husband. Oh my God, you own somebody? The ideology, the Ken and Barbie ideology is put onto people, which is, that's all cool and stuff. And you're having a little tea party when you're 10 years old. That's great. But in reality, nobody owns anybody. And if you're together with someone, then you two know that.
Right.
You don't need rainbow crosswalks to tell people that you're this person or that person. That's your business. That's not someone
Right.
else's business.
Right.
I don't have a problem with two-spirited people or anybody on this planet. What I do have a problem is with people that are blind. Even though their eyes are open, they can see, but they're totally blind.
Right.
And ownership is a big thing. You don't own anybody. And that's what a
Right.
corporation does is they own people for 40 years or 50 years or whatever it is. You have, and that has to stop.
Right.
Because you're all of a sudden you're 70 years old and you all of a sudden you're cramming for finals at the Bible because you're going to die soon. It's just nonsense. It's just be
Right.
yourself
Right.
and make soil and smile every day and have fun. My grandfather's a great fun guy. Hey, he was always having fun. If it wasn't fun, he was out of there. And I'm the same way. If I'm not having fun, I'll see you later. You figure it out, right?
Right. Right. I think that I've always used the word control instead of own, but I see that it is very similar.
Well, you learn it when you're a child to own and control. These
Right.
are your
Right.
crayons. These are your crayons.
Right. Right.
It's a pain body given to you that you've accepted. This is your desk. This is your homework.
Right.
This is yours. So, okay. So what if you take the crayons and share them with all the kids? Nobody owns them.
That's right.
There's no control. Hey, can I borrow that green crayon? Okay, sure. I've got the orange one. Here you go. What a difference. What
Yeah.
a huge difference. Nobody feels left out. Everybody's sharing.
Right.
That's what has to happen, is for the earthling to wake up, is to let go of the pain body that they carry. Like, if you don't believe in something, it can never, ever hurt you because you didn't believe in it. But when they say, oh, you got to have this jab, or you've got to have this vaccine, or you've got to have this, first thing my daddy told me, never get in the lineup.
Right. Exactly.
Never get in that lineup. And you know what? I've never been inoculated for anything.
That's awesome.
Nothing. I've had nothing. And I never get sick, except I ended up with this disease, but it's comes in through your lineage. It's like Ormond's disease, and there's nothing you can do about it. It's in the chromosome makeup. There's nothing you can do about it. The only thing I can do is not get a flare up. That's all I can do. So I've learned. It's funny because when I go see the oncologist, the hematologist, the urologist, the virologist, I mean, I've seen them all, right? And they're like, "Well, you know more about this immunoglobulin substage 4 retroperitoneal fibrosis than we do," but they don't say that word. They go IgG4, IgG4. They can't even say the bloody thing. So I'm like, well, yeah, I have studied people from Harvard and the Mayo Clinic and scientists from Japan and Germany, I said, and I have a medical consultant from Russia that comes to see me, and and they're like, what? And they're like, well, how many people look after you? I said, 129. Yeah, and they told me I had a week to a month to live, hey? So I said, no, it's not my time. It's not my time. And they're like, oh no, you're gonna die. No, I'm not. That was almost 3 years ago, hey. But for sometimes I did think I was gonna pass away. I was in rough shape, but I kept doing the proteolytic enzymes from Vitalzyme from Japan, and I had a real hard time from Health Canada too. They wouldn't even let it in the country sometimes, eh? I needed that meds. So I ended up, and it was expensive. It wasn't cheap. You know, you got to pay for this stuff yourself, right? There's no medical plan here. They tell me there's free medical in Canada. I'd like to see the free medical. It's bullshit. It's BS. Sorry about the salty language. You can only be so nonchalant about stuff. My fervency in calling them BS medical system is quite accurate. But I took the proteolytic enzymes, several courses. I had a course of Wobenzyme from Germany too. And what it does is it breaks down fibrin, built up proteins in your body, the masses. So that's how I reduced my masses. That I was in rough shape. So I'm better now. But I mean, what they did to me, they put monoclonal antibodies in a drip inside my body, and the monoclonal antibodies were taken out of a Chinese hamster's ovaries, and that's chemotherapy. Hey, that's when you go. They just say, "Oh, it's chemotherapy," which doesn't tell you very much.
Right.
So, okay, what is chemotherapy? Well, there's these monoclonal antibodies that kill off all your T cells to get a different combination, so it can deal with it.
Oh my gosh.
What happened? Oh, my talking did it. Okay, I thought something happened there. So, long story skinny is that I did not tolerate it well. I had a very bad reaction. My face froze, my teeth cracked.
Oh my God.
I had a pulmonary embolism. So
wow.
we are doing a lot more damage than, PET scans, CAT scans, scopolamine injections to get the screening right. And just, I was getting sicker and sicker dealing with the system.
Right.
So I had to go my own way. You see, I had to go my own way and learn it all myself and fix it myself.
Right.
And you know, when I would go there, researchers love to prod me to get little pieces of this rare disease. Hey, and you know, I said, you know how painful it is for you to stick a probe in through my back and through my lower back, grab a piece, and then get out. And they're like, well, we can sedate you, and I'm like, well, oh, gee, pass the Paxil. I feel better. I said, thank you for the neuro linguistic program, but you have a nice effing day. And I don't swear much. I try not to, eh? But I did there. And then they're all, he swore.
Oh no.
So far out there, they can't even find the Hubble telescope, them guys.
Right. Right.
They only do what they've been dictated and told to do. They have
Right.
no scientific approach. They were told to stick you into that radiation, stick that chemotherapy in you. And thing is, I didn't even have cancer, so they would put down that I had lymphoma on the acquisition. So I'd go see the oncologist. I'm like, you can't do that. I said, my family reads this. My medical consultant reads this. I read this. I said, an adult with chemo won't make it. You know, a child can make it with lymphoma, but an adult doesn't. They live a year or two, but you die. And I said, if I don't have lymphoma, then why are you putting it down? He's like, well, they thought you did. And I said, well, for one thing, I said, you have to have a biopsy to tell if you have lymphoma. And I haven't had one, I said, because my medical consultant, my Russian friend there, she's like, no, you've never had one. So I was loaded for the guy. I was really going to hammer him because he needed it. And when I went there, and he's a nice guy too, but he's just does what he's told to do.
Right.
You know, the board tells the medical association, and the medical association tells the doctor, and the doctor does it. You know, there's a high death rate of, they say there's a high death rate of cancer. No, there's a high death rate of people that go and get the treatment for cancer.
Right.
That
Right.
is not talked about.
Right. It's like they're following a recipe book.
It's exactly it.
What do I do for this? And they flip the page. Okay, here's the first step. Here's the second step. Here's the next. This is what we do.
Yeah. So, I mean, I have a lot of students, and some of them doctors are my students now. And they've built Food Forest at their house and properties and stuff. And, you know, you can only change if the person's willing to change.
Right.
But if they're blind, then they're going to be blind. There's nothing you can do. And it's sad. It's really sad. You know, I don't like that. But it's the truth, and the truth will, you know, set people free or put them in jail.
Right. So there was a question. There was a question from someone in the chat. The person is Bultitude, and he says, "What needs to be adapted to have permaculture work in a desert environment?"
Biomass, accumulative biomass, and retaining the water when it rains there with the biomass.
So lots of compost and mulch and
But anything that's
soil path.
anything that's organic,
Right.
will make soil.
Organic matter. Yep.
Yeah, and so what happens is that breaks down, and then you can plant it. And once you have something planted, you know, you ditches. I'm a great fan of swales and ditches. So when it rains in the desert, you got a flash flood. How do you keep some of that? So in Arizona, there's a lady called Susie, and her husband's name is Bill, and it's out west Homestead. And she made a food forest in the middle of the desert where there was nothing. Okay. So I've been following her for years and giving her tips, and she gives me tips too, some things I didn't know. And now she has a fully functioning food forest she's regreening the desert. That's what permaculture is all about. Regreening the desert and retrofitting the city. If you regreen the desert, all of a sudden you have a new lung for the planet Earth to breathe. Right. Oh, wow. Isn't that interesting? Yeah. I'll take that. I'll buy one of those.
Exactly.
So retention of water is the big thing.
Yes.
And Susie and Bill, they go and they collect their leaves at different places that do have trees, and they put the leaves there. And look at CR's garden.
Yeah, look at that.
I
Those,
love CR. He's a great guy.
yeah, beautiful green leaves there, CR.
Well, you're awesome too, Howie. You're awesome too. That's why I'm listening.
No.
I'm just listening while I'm gardening here.
Oh, thank you. You're very kind, my friend. Yeah, but the big thing is to bring this planet together. Is that there's no more that guy's a black guy, that guy's a white guy, that guy's a brown guy, that guy's a red
Yeah.
guy, that guy's a yellow guy. There's none of that anymore.
Yeah,
And,
totally.
and because what happens is that separates everyone.
Right.
Racism. So that's only going to stop if you stop it. And that can be harsh. And then if aliens showed up and started consuming people, then everybody would get along real good because they don't want to be consumed. Oh, my black brother's right here. Right?
Right.
You know, that's the only way that'll ever truly stop.
Right.
That, and it'll just peter out anyway, you know. But racism is a big thing for people not developing properly to look after themselves because they're in a hatred mindset all the time.
Right. Right.
So them type of people are really difficult to bring in as good earth warriors. When I see people like you, I'll call you an earth warrior, but it's not used liberally for myself, you know, like to call someone an earth warrior is the ultimate prize to me.
Right.
Because you're looking after the planet, you're looking after the microbes that are in the soil. Like, come on, you're only taught to look after kids and rear them and get them out there and get a job and be enslaved.
Well,
You know? I hope all this finds you well. Sometimes people don't care for what I say.
No, it's awesome. It's awesome.
Hey, my friend growing on Vancouver Island's here. Yeah.
Oh, yes.
I'm growing.
Very cool earth warrior there. Very cool. And growing on Vancouver Island's been doing a little bit of a series on fable fairies in the garden and places like little houses and stuff. I do that too. Hey, it's fun. It's really fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's great. That's awesome. I had a question, but now I can't think of it.
Write it down. That's this cool.
I know.
I know. As soon as I think of something, I have to write it down so I remember it. Hey, it's like lyrics. I don't so much anymore, but
Actually, I have a question if you don't mind me asking.
Sure.
Go for it.
So the more life's in the soil, the more plants are in the soil, the more biomass, the more water it can absorb, right? Is that true?
Yeah.
I figure, yeah.
Yeah. And retain.
So okay.
Yeah.
Retain the moisture in the soil, right?
Soil's made in layers. So when you see me reach into my soil with my hand, I don't even use a tool, and it just fluffs out, and I take the potatoes out or pull the carrots out. I that's the status you want. And that comes from layers and layers and layers. Biochar and wood ash are your best friends to control all the bugs and keep all the minerals and nutrients going to your plant to be healthy. Wood ash and biochar. Biochar lasts 50,000 years. Okay?
Wow.
Crush it up, put it in your soil, and bugs don't like to move around in it. It's gritty, it's dirty, they leave. Click beetle and wireworm, and they all leave. When I go out and I show a video, you don't see a plant with being eaten by bugs at all. Okay, I don't have bugs. If I go and put the video camera over into the neighbor's property, there's nothing but caterpillar tents and just slugs, and it's just like, and they don't even come here because the wood ash and the biochar. You see,
That's awesome.
You're smarter than a bug. I can guarantee it. Yep. I'm not stupid.
Right.
Have fun. That's the big thing. Make soil. And you know, it takes a little while to make soil, and you can train the neighbors to bring their kitchen waste, or if they're going out to Starbucks, please bring back a container of free coffee grounds, you know, because I gave you radishes last week, if you have to go to that point, but you know, you don't know how to coerce anybody. The fear is you might not get radishes anymore. So, you know, it's all in how you handle people to build your soil CR. And it's not just you on the planet. So you show other people that this is the way, right? Eventually they'll go, I'm making this at home. And now you can buy actual gadgets that make soil in a day. I see it on I don't know if it works, but I've seen the advertising on YouTube. And you put everything in.
Yeah.
Next day you dump out soil. I'm like, I don't know. You might dump out organic matter, but you're not dumping out soil in 24 hours. There's just not gonna happen.
Yeah, it takes time even for like compost to still break down.
The smaller
remember
it is,
Idaho?
the better off you are.
Yeah, remember Idaho Garden Girl? You left me a comment about one of my videos before about that.
I don't remember. Well, I don't remember what the comment was.
You said something about the Lomi.
Be right back.
Which is the brand name of one. Remember?
Oh, yes. Yeah, that composting machine. Yeah, Lomi.
Yeah. A lot of the gardening channels say that it's a way to make the pieces smaller and stuff. It's not compost yet. Compost is well broken down material.
Right. It's like dehydrated, chopped up kitchen.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's just increasing the surface area. It'll break down a lot faster.
If you're in an apartment building, that's ideal.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, like for shadow, right?
Shadow in an apartment? I didn't know that.
Yes. You didn't know that?
No.
Well, now you do.
Live in an
now you
apartment.
do.
There's nothing wrong with that. That's a good thing. You can grow a lot in an apartment. You can do a lot. I have several clients that are in apartments and on their balcony. You'd be amazed what a container garden can do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love container gardening because my favorite part is it's mobile.
Right.
If I need to leave, I can load it all up in my boat and cruise off into the archipelago. Bye-bye. If I need to go, I have several escape routes. I have land and water. And if I truly needed it, I'd have a helicopter pilot up the street. If I truly needed it. So the backup plan is to grab my buddy and let's get your chopper and let's get above this, whatever it is. You know,
Right.
the will,
That sounds like a plan, Howie.
the will to
That sounds like a good
survive.
plan.
I mean, you gotta have plan A, B, C, all the way to Z.
Right.
You do. And it's not no more just going to school, learning some schooling, go get a trade and be a slave. People are not stupid anymore. People are waking up. The internet's woke up a lot of people.
Right.
Yeah, you have a lot of woke up people. So, and some are scary. They freak out. And then their own mental health gets them. And that's what that big thing about Steve at Corsair Trainer is trying to show people about when they do wake up, you know, and some actually did wake up.
Yeah.
Lisa says she's going to skip my morning workout music and watch the live instead.
Oh, that's awesome.
That is.
Awesome.
Yeah. Sweden. That's where Shadow Scout is.
Yep.
Right. Yeah,
I
like Corsair Trainers. I've got his cup. Making
I didn't even notice.
Yeah, that's the greatest catch line, making fewer victims.
Exactly. Don't be a victim. A game 360. When I leave this food forest, I'm looking around like you wouldn't believe. I have not always been on that heightened alert, but there's desperate people, and desperate people see their victims. So I used to teach martial arts to a lot of people. Over 13,000 students I've had over the years. And they all come in there and I ask them, why you want to come here? Well, I want to learn to fight. I said, no, this isn't the place for you. They're like, well, this is a martial arts school. I said, you just said you're coming here to learn to fight. This is not the place to do that. And they're like, this guy's crazy, right? And I said, first thing is you learn not to fight, not to
Right.
fight. It's defense only.
Mhm.
Some stayed, some didn't, but all walks of life until I was about 25. From my early teens till 25, I taught women's self-defense courses, that kind of thing, you know. And it all comes down to, like Steve says, are you the victim?
Right.
No. You want to make a victim when you're being attacked.
Yeah.
And there's no, there's no niceties when someone's attacking someone. And it's quite often now, there's a lot of gunfire here in the different cities now. And that's the big thing, is people getting hold of guns. It's like, geez, guns are for hunting, hey? That's it. They're not for killing humans. That's my total take on it. I have more use for a live human than I do a dead one.
Right.
Dead ones, they're okay. I mean, they make good compost, but I'm okay with it. I really am. One time, I wasn't okay with that. My dad was a warrior. He was in the military, and he was in a war, in the Korean War, and he told me things that I could never tell until he passed away. And some of the things he told me was, you've got a guy coming. He used to have to go pick up, like the captain or whatever, colonel, whatever at Pusan, and he'd go there. Before he went there, he'd shoot the Jeep full of holes. Then he would leave pins and damage and pins from grenades and shells everywhere, and he'd go pick the guy up. And
Oh
then the
my
guy
God.
would come off the out of the hut, and he'd look at the Jeep all shot full of holes, and he was like, "Where did you come from?" He goes, "Well, I'm here to pick you up and bring you back there." So if the guy ran and got back into the hut and didn't come out, well, that guy wasn't for you, right? That bloody well. Now, if the guy says, "Oh wow, this looks interesting," he jumps in. That's the guy for you,
Yeah.
right? And that's key. Is the mentality. Is permaculture for every earthling? Absolutely. Is there
Yeah.
any other way? Possibly. Find out about it and get back to me, right?
Right. Right.
I mean, the Mayans didn't build all that they built because they were stupid. They built it because they knew they had to look after that soil. And if you go back to the canals in Mexico City, they're still doing that. Hey, they scrape off the lettuce that grows on top of the water and they put it on the soil. Makes new soil, layers. Same thing with pathway soil bank. So we don't have the canals around here, so I skipped that part and just went with pathway soil bank. And pathway soil bank makes soil. And the thing is, you're making money too when you make soil, right? You make soil, you make money. $20 for 20 liters of soil here, and my soil just kicks butt over the soil you buy anyway.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's really great.
Oh, good coffee. Oh. When Gray Man happens, I'm gonna miss my coffee.
Yeah, you better stock up.
Yeah, I'll miss the coffee too.
I had the idea that I could try to grow a tea plant.
Oh, you
And
can.
I can't seem to keep them alive. I don't know what
What
it
do
is,
you?
because I
What
don't
do you?
have enough humidity here, or what.
Well, this is a tough question, and it's a tough one to answer because I'm not there and I don't know what your tea plant even is.
Right.
So, is it like a tea tree, or is it like a jasmine, or what
Um,
is it?
it's supposedly something from a Lipton tea plantation, or a clone from a tea from a Lipton tea plantation. And I got it from a grower in, I believe, South Carolina. So, I mean, that right there is a huge leap from South Carolina to Idaho, not just in distance, but, there's a lot of there's a big leap in the environment between the two places. But yeah, I can't seem to keep them alive. First thing they do is they drop all their leaves.
Well, it must be a camellia you're talking about, because that's where it's
Yes,
minty. It's a
yes,
camellia.
exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's
I make tea from many different ways of making tea. Hey,
right.
yeah.
But I was doing it because coffee has caffeine, and I
What's
mean,
wrong with that?
nothing. To be honest, that's why I drink coffee. It's
There's nothing wrong with caffeine.
It's because it, it gives me that jolt in the
Well,
morning.
yeah. Do you know what the most addictive substance on the planet is for humans?
No,
You don't? You don't know
no.
what's addictive that you have to have it?
Is it caffeine?
No, not even close.
Oh, what is it?
Sugar.
Oh, yes. Of course.
Sugar is one molecule different than cocaine and heroin.
Oh my goodness.
So when you're going to the store and you see the kids looking at all the junk food, they're not even in there anymore, man. They're thinking about that high.
Yeah.
Sugar.
Yeah.
Sugar is the most addictive substance known to man.
Yep.
You have
Yep.
to have it.
Yeah, it is. And
Yep.
it's terrible to get rid of that addiction too.
It's very difficult.
Yeah,
You're right.
I know someone who were sugar addicted, and he told me it was a nightmare to get rid of it.
Hey, Newfound Drone Productions here. Hi, Bill. Bill grows citrus inside in Newfoundland. Yeah, it's very difficult to get rid of the sugar addiction, Swede. You're absolutely right.
I agree.
It's in so much of our food, the factory food. First thing is stop all factory food because
Right.
it's put in there. Secondly is to grow all your own food. So you might want to grow your own food while you're being addicted still to the factory food. The problem with factory food is there's no enzymes, and a lot of the nutrients and antioxidants are dead.
Yeah.
That's why people get sick from it. They become obese, and they're not eating anything fresh. This month, and I've lost 6 more pounds this month.
Awesome.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
Go, Howie, go.
11 pounds last month and 6 this month. And I
Wow.
absolutely refuse to eat anything from a can, from a box, from the freezer. The only thing I eat from the freezer is peas, because peas have their own shell. So when they grow peas, they don't have to put nitrogen on the peas because peas make their own nitrogen, their nitrogen fixation. So, and if you want to buy something from a store, cauliflower and broccoli and asparagus is all organic. It's grown during the cold times. There's no pests there. So those are things that you can eat from a store. That's clean, relatively. If the inside aisle, you don't go near it. Dr. Paula Ruffin, she does little skits where she goes out and shows you in the store what's all the garbage and stuff. And I love her videos. Have you ever seen her videos?
Oh yeah, I watch her videos.
Yeah, smart lady. Hey.
Right. You were the one who I learned about her through you.
Yeah.
And the minute I learned about her was when I just watched a couple of her videos and I was like, oh man, this is the woman to watch.
Yeah, she's a godsend, that's for sure. She's there to help show people a better way of growing your own food, what not to buy, what to buy, and I think she's going to be a great leader in the gardening community and the health community on YouTube. Not everything on YouTube is about gardening and health.
Right.
It's a very broad field out there, and she and Dr. Ruffin picked her way through it, and Dr. Ruffin wants to accumulate subscribers really quickly. And I told her, I said, they'll come, but you just keep doing what you're doing. But she's new to the YouTube scene. She just worked her whole life as a doctor, chiropractic, and functioning nutritionist.
Right.
But a lot of the things she learns about, we never learn about. She can only say so much on YouTube too. So
right.
Yeah.
Right.
Me, I'll just blabber it out and they'll get bleeped out by AI, so I don't really care. I said my piece, so that's just the way it is. Bill
Yeah.
Mollison was like that, eh? He would hold these lectures on one lecture I remember he did was a whale washed up on shore. And this kid, he's a kid himself. He's like 10, 11 years old. And this other kid goes, well, who owns the whale, Bill? So Bill pulls out his pocket knife and he cuts his name into the whale. He goes, now I do.
Oh my gosh.
And so be it. So true. That is exactly it. When you're born, your born day is your birthday through the corporation, but it's a happy born day. So as soon as you realize you were born and not birthed, there's a difference. It takes on a whole new straw man feeling. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
Growing your own food will set you free. Making your own soil will set you free. And caves are your best friend. I'm going to have to go soon, Steph, but I just want
okay.
to do a little bit of a spiel here. Caves are your best friend. Okay.
Yes.
When you have nothing, there's a shower curtain in every house for a poncho or a lean-to. And there's always a Campbell soup can in the recycling bin to put bugs and herbs in to make a cup of soup. If things get down to gray man like that, then it's serious, hey? And the future is bright if you light a candle, right? You keep your chin up. No matter what you see, don't let it bother you during gray man. Don't think about it because there's nothing you can do about crazy people except look behind your fruit tree stuff once in a while, your orchard, and go, yeah, there's another crazy. Go back behind your tree. I learned that from Idaho Hillbilly. I don't know if you know that guy or not, Kevin and
I
Miss Kitty.
watched his videos.
Oh yeah, they're awesome. They're friends of mine.
Yeah, that's
Oh
good.
yeah, we're on a mailing list. Those guys. I first thing when I found him, I sent him my Pathway Soil Bank building, and he was growing a couple things. Now he's full board goats and chickens, and
Right.
because
Right.
it's the right thing to do. You're not a slave. No one controls or owns another human being, and that's the way it's supposed to be, and that's
Right.
called freedom. Freedom is Chris Christopherson said there's freedom is just another word for nothing left to lose.
Right.
And so true. You have nothing left to lose when you're controlled and told what to do. Yeah. And the thing is, following somebody blindly, no, don't waste your time. Follow yourself. There's two brains in every human. There's the brain up here, then there's the brain in your belly, your gut feeling.
Right.
So the gut feeling is all these 100 trillion entities going, okay, don't go near the cliff because you're putting out that pheromone of fear. Oh, I'm walking along a cliff. So all of a sudden your gut feeling is like, oh yeah, that's not a good idea. British researchers found the second brain. Check it out. But I must go. And it's a pleasure to be on your live stream. And Sweet, awesome to see you. Always a pleasure. And
Thank
Oh,
you
it's a pleasure
so
to
much.
see you too, my friend.
Take care, Howie.
Always a pleasure. I got a brother in Sweden, hey?
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a brother there that has property there.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Where in Sweden?
I couldn't tell you. I've never been there.
Okay.
But I know he lives there, and he lives up northern British Columbia, and he goes back and forth. But I've never been to Sweden. But he goes there with his lawyer buddies and stuff. And I don't like them. But I like my brother though. But I don't like his friends. They're just too much for me. They're just too intense with their ego, and it's just nuts. They're all granola munching tree huggers, and they don't even know what a tree is.
I know the feeling.
Yeah. Take care, everybody. Steph, thank you for having me up in your live stream.
Take care, Howie.
So much,
It's been
Howie.
a pleasure. It's been a certain pleasure. All the
Yes.
best, and get up
Thank you.
and make Pathway Soil Bank.
Absolutely. Thank you, CR, and thank you, Shadow Scout, and thank you, everybody in the chat. I really appreciate everybody who's come in and watched and been in this program. and everybody who's watching this on the replay, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Have a great day, everybody.
Take care, everyone.
Take care. Stay safe. God bless.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Hmm.